Hey guys, I just wanted to go over the quiz domain and range and just kind of review with you what that means a little bit more. So I have a quiz up here. This is showing question 1. It says the graph of the function y equals x plus 3 is shown below. What is its domain? So domain is always going to mean x values. Okay, so that's going to be all along here are your x's. So when they talk about the domain, it's basically saying what x's could this graph cover if it continued on forever. Okay, so on this one, because if this line kept going, it could cover all of the x's all the way to infinity on both positive and negative, okay, and all of the fractions and decimals and everything in between. So that's why your answer is all real numbers, because it would cover all of those. Okay, now the range, which it doesn't ask you for on this one, but the range would actually also be all real numbers because it can continue going up and down forever. Okay, so then question 2 says, what is the domain of the function represented in the table below? Okay, so again, your domain are your x's. So for this one, you're just looking at the x side of the table. So your domain would be negative 1, 0, 5, 7, and 3, which they usually will list in order, and they don't list duplicate numbers if there are any. Okay, so that's why that's your answer, because you just have to list all of the x values. Okay, so then question 3, again, is asking for the domain. So on this one, again, we're looking at the x's. That's your horizontal line, okay, on your graph. And if this continued going, which x's would it cover? And it would actually cover, again, all real numbers. Because if that kept going, it would just keep going forever in both directions. Okay, and so that's why it's all real numbers. Now the range on this one would actually be a little different if they'd asked you for the range, because this line is going up this direction. On the left side of the y-axis, it's going up this direction. And so it's never going to be down here in the negatives. And so your range would actually be all of the numbers greater than or equal to 0. So it would be 0 and up would be your range, okay, if they had asked you for range on that question. But for the domain, it's all real numbers. Okay, so this one you're supposed to find the domain and the range. Okay, so your domain are your x's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's your domain. Your y's are your range. And so you would just list your range, 1, 2, 5, 10, 15. Okay, and that's your range. So domain are your x's, range is your y's. Okay, on this one, this is a little harder for me to just show you on the quiz, but what you would do is you would find your domain, sorry, let me start over. You would add these two together, okay, is the first thing it tells you to do, so it has f plus g of x. So then you'd add these two, so you'd have x squared minus 3x minus 4, and then you would graph those on a graphing calculator, okay, and in fact, let me just go, and I'm just going to go find one online, and this is how easy it is to find a graphing calculator. Okay, bam, there it is. So then I'm going to say x squared, and I'm going to have to go back and check what it was. X squared minus 3x, and then plus 4. Okay, so there is my graph. So then I just need to put, oops, what the domain and the range would be for that graph. So you can see, anytime you have this kind of a shape, it's called a parabola, which you don't have to remember that right now, but that's what that shape is called, the U shape. So your domain is going to be all real numbers, because that could continue going. So like if I zoom out on my graph, you know, it's going to keep going, and even though it looks like it's not going to get to all these numbers, it would eventually. Okay, and so the domain for your x's would be all real numbers. Then if I zoom in a little closer, I can see my range is going to be, so it's 1.75 is the y, so it's going to be all of the numbers 1.75 and higher, so 1.7 greater than or equal to 1.75. Okay, so that would be your range. So that's how you do these problems. It's really once you get down that the domain is the x's and the range is the y's, they're pretty easy. But as always, if you have any questions, let me know. And if you send me an email saying that you watched this video, give me a 1 sentence about what you learned, you can get some extra credit. See you later.